What's up, everybody? You guys know I've been going through low back pain for basically my entire life, all right? So I actually found salvation, all right? My man Colton over here. What's up, brother?
What's up, man? How are you doing?
My man. So he's a chiropractor, but I have said some things about chiropractors, but I've also qualified it with in every practice, from training to medical to whatever. There's good and there's bad, right? Like my doctor, for example. I don't like GPs. My doctor's dope. Like, he's the kind of guy who believes in prayer for recovery. He's like outside of the box, right? And I like that because that means he's learning new stuff. Now, the thing I noticed, I came in here, my back was just tore up and I could barely walk. I was at a soccer tournament. I couldn't pick my bag up. I came out of here literally a day later, a little bit of soreness from the work he did, and like I was a new man. So I want to introduce you. We're at the basement gym, and this is Dr. Colton Anderson, man. So what's up, man? Tell us about yourself.
What's going on, guys? Okay, take. My name's Dr. Colton, and I'm out of the basement gym here. All right, take one more time, promise. You guys don't know a lot about me.
Today, Junior?
I keep saying fucking What's going on, guys? This is Dr. Colton. I'm here at the basement gym with Marc Lobliner. We're going to take a look at his back pain. But first, a little bit about me. Graduated last year from Chiro school. Went to National, and I ended up going there because I have a couple discs in my neck and in my back that I injured in football and motocross when I was younger. And I was told by certain doctors that I wouldn't be able to do anything again, and to stop working out and everything. And that's when I started working out. And then I actually entered school after being a trainer for a little bit, because I saw how much influence I was having on people that would go and get these consultations from certain doctors, no names or anything, but just certain people that would say like, hey, you got knee pain, you have to stop running. You got back pain, you shouldn't lift. You shouldn't do these things anymore. And I think the evolutionary standpoint is that like we're made to lift. We're made to do these things. We're not made to sit. We're not made to drive for, how long was that, 17 hours?
17 hours last week, yeah.
17 hours last week. Got to get business done though, man. Got to feed the fam. And, you know, I just kind of being through all that and then being in school and injuring myself and kind of having to find out my own ways of coming about treating myself. I just stumbled upon some things that I do with people. I believe a lot in soft tissue and joint manipulation and functional rehab, and I think you got to do all of them as one to be able to have a sound structured body. And if you're only, you know, speaking from a doctor perspective, if you're only throwing an adjustment at the wall, that's one color. If you're only throwing tissue work at a wall, that's one color. If you're only doing one thing, it's one color. You got to throw multiple things at the wall. You know, you have to have somewhat of a plan for like people that are coming in to see you for treatment. But at the same time, every individual is different. Like Marc might have back pain, but the back pain he has isn't the same back pain someone's going to have from sitting at a desk all day, because the dude lifts all the time and he's very active. So how are you going to treat that? Right? You're going to say, oh, there's a tight hip flexor, weak glute, or, you know, are you just going to adjust them? You got to kind of look at the global approach as well, you know? Today, pretty much we're going to go ahead. Marc's been here once. We've gone through one treatment with them. We did a little bit of cupping, some body tempering. Can explain some of the stuff when we're going through it today. And the body tempering, you know, that's totally from Donnie Thompson. He's the one that kind of invented that. And, you know, one of my guys, Brian DeFalco, who he treated me for a while, he also got me into body tempering and into all this fascial stuff that I'm doing with people nowadays. So, like, you know, Marc over here, who seeked a lot of relief from it. And it's not just like, you know, pushing on tissue and going through the motions of like, you know, oh, there's a knot there, let's get the knot out. It's like, hey, let's muscle test you. Let's look at the functional neurology of it. Let's look at reciprocal inhibition. You know, what's going on if the bicep has a knot in it, the tricep is going to say, or hang on. So let's say, like, you know, when you flex your arm, your bicep is going to contract and your tricep's going to lengthen. It's an antagonistic muscle. Let's say there's a knot in your tricep. Your brain doesn't know that. Your brain thinks your tricep's trying to contract, even though it's not. Now you're going to go and flex that bicep, and it's maybe working, 50% of the way, 60%. And that's kind of the functional neurology of the body when you talk about these things. And Marc and I, we talked about this last time, and we'll try and assess it today and get some synergistic dominance patterns out, where it's we're trying to get some synergistic dominance patterns out where it's, like let's say if you're using your hamstring more than your glute, when you're doing hip extension, are you, your hamstring erectors, or are you using glute? What's going on, right? Lay face up, all right? Let's just do a little muscle testing here.
Okay.
So typically, you see someone like Marc, you get intimidated, at least I did, with like, how am I going to treat this guy? He's got muscle on muscle, and he can't have any weaknesses in his body, right?
There's a ton of weaknesses.
So
hopefully you're not going there, though.
So easy. So first thing, let's go ahead. Resist me. Yep. Okay, try not to push that leg in there, all right? Just kind of maintain it. Good. So that's hip flexor, right? Kind of test both sides there. Same thing. Don't push into the table, bud.
It's hard not to.
So that's hip flexor, right? Shows guys might be a little gun shy after a 17-hour road trip.
Yeah, just a little bit.
All right, go ahead, turn your foot this way a little bit. Yep.
This way?
Internal rotation, yep.
Okay.
Don't want me to push down. Same thing when he's that leg. Okay, glute med TFL, right? Good, same thing, glute med TFL. Let's do it one more time. Internally rotate. Other way, bud. Yep. Don't want to push down. Okay. So you feel any pain with any of this?
A little tightness in the right one.
A little tightness, yeah. That one gave out a little bit more if we were to grade that, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Let's go ahead and have you face down. Gonna go in, we're gonna say glute max. Go ahead and hold it there, bud. Okay. Glute max. Okay. Did that hurt your back at all?
No.
No?
That was nice.
Yeah, I heard that. Alright, cool. So eventually what I'm going to do is I'm going to treat his superficial backline to start out with. Kind of some fascial terminology stuff from anatomy, trains Thomas Myers. So the fascial superficial backline is going to start at the top of the eyebrow. It's going to run all the way down to the plantar surface of the foot, okay? So, but before I do that, we're just going to try and get into his external rotators here a little bit, into his glute, okay? So we're going to kind of pin it down, right where that piriformis, superior inferior gemellus, obturator, quadratus femoris. So he feels that.
Oh yeah, I do, man. Let's get in there.
This isn't a massage.
No, it's not.
So
It's not a
this isn't going to feel pleasant at first, but so what we'll do is we'll go ahead and hold that up there, and we'll have him test it. So when you do that, it might be hard to see from camera, but that test's stronger now, right? So we know that input to the nervous system and that glute med is going to get it fired up a little bit. So same thing on this side. All right, so we're going to put these cups on. We're just going to run them down as paraspinals, Some people like cupping, some people don't. Honestly, I was new to it out of school, and people like it. I use it. I tell them there's a layer of skin fat fascia. You have to think if that fascia's stronger on a molecular level than steel. And if you're dissecting out a body, it dulls a scalpel blade really fast, and it makes it a bitch to dissect the body. It's like banana spider webbing. It's in between each muscle, and if you didn't have fascia, it would be like your body would be like a pile of ground beef. It's literally your molding. It's more than just connective tissue. There's a lot of studies and research out there right now that's saying it has a lot to do with the antagonist synergistic relationships of actual muscle firing patterns of the body. So to me, you can see the discoloration here, how it's already getting a little more intense up here than here, but this side's light, this side's getting a little bit more color in it. What's weird is you'll see these patterns, and they'll kind of start, and they'll get, depending on what's going on, which is interesting, it's a little darker here. This pec is the problem on him, okay? He has a little if you don't mind me saying that. He's got a little pec issue, okay? So we gotta start working on that. And then that is actually, this shoulder's gonna tie down to this hip. That's how the body works in an X fashion. So those are your anterior posterior oblique sling system, they call that. So like, let's say if you were to flex this ass cheek, this shoulder is gonna actually engage all its posterior chain when you're doing, like, let's say a one-arm press or something, which is why unilateral training is good. Back to it, not to get off with my ADD self.
So is discoloration a sign? Like, I've read something that the more injured or toxic you are, the more red or blue it becomes, and the weirder bruising it stays. Is that true?
Yeah, absolutely. So what I've kind of seen on people that do have more injured areas is that, these patterns will lay out of this injured shoulder to this hip with this glute that was tender when we were on in this glute max, right? But with those 3 layers of skin, fat, fascia, when you start pulling that apart, instead of just moving the fluid or the stagnation of inflammation that's under the skin to a different area of the body, you're actually trying to pull it up through the skin pores. So that's that discoloration that you're seeing is that stagnatory inflammation that's under the skin, that's just chilling there. So a lot of people find good relief from this, and it honestly makes it less invasive for a physician. It saves your hands a little bit, and it makes it a lot easier for you to be able to get into the tissue as well afterwards. So we're treating this posterior chain, right? Like the whole thing going down the erectors. So why not do some body tempering as well? I wouldn't recommend this on a table unless you have a 500-pound limit on your table, and even on then, be careful. We're doing it today, but in reality, I would say let's do this on the floor. So this guy, this is 140 pounds. So we're gonna pick this up. We're gonna set it here on Mr. Marc. All right. So what this is gonna do, it's gonna roll out his hamstrings. All right. And what you got to think, we'll roll them out, but we're gonna let it sit down here. Knees okay?
Yeah, that's good.
Always ask if the knees are okay. Usually they are, but maybe someone had he had a little situation a while ago on his knee. So I want to make sure, whether it be scar tissue, any type of cartilage damage or anything in there, that it's not going to damage it more. So you got to think, the gastroc and hamstring heads, they form like this fascially, right? Or tendinous, and then fascial intertwines with them. So by putting this here, that fascial line runs right up here into this lower back from here. So we're kind of releasing the whole thing, right? From the head all the way down. We want to treat the whole fascial line, all right? That way we're not spot treating just where the pain is. We're addressing it on a global system approach. And that's the best way to do it, because the real question remains, if you want, you can turn your head one way or the other if it's more comfortable. The real question remains chicken before the egg, right? And that's what we need to try and figure out. But in doing so, we also need to make sure that he has pain relief. And last time we did this, it held for, you say, a week and a half?
Yeah, I'd say so.
Week and a half. And, Marc does a lot of heavy lifting and things, which is super important to make sure that this can get him by so he can keep doing what he wants to do as an athlete. So it's really important. So, we're going to let this sit here for about 5 minutes. So we're going to take this one off. This guy, 45 pounds, you get a kabuki strength. This is from a local steel mill. So this is 140 pounds, all right? So we're just going to work into the hammies a little bit here, get up by the ischial tuberosity, okay? If you're doing this on the floor, you could do it with one leg out and not one leg to hit more, depending on what you would like to take. It's definitely, a good tool. I use this a lot here. I use it with double plates on that, down the street, and post-op knees. Get the full range of motion back instead of stretching the muscle. We don't always want to stretch a muscle because we don't ask the question, is the muscle tight because it's short and overactive, or is it tight because it's holding on for dear life and it's weak? Guarantee you your hamstrings aren't strong. So when you're stretching them, you're making them weaker, you're creating more of a problem. So this is definitely a better piece of equipment, and this is why I use this on the body instead. You're not going to stretch out a fascial knot. So actually, we'll take those off. You guys can kind of see the discoloration there in his erectors and stuff. He does have a little bit of back pain. Now, another thing you can do with these cups is you can move them around, right? You can get that full downward rotation, upward rotation, posterior tilt of the scap, right? Perfect. All right, so we got the cupping done. Take this, has a little bit of knurling on it. So what I like to do is someone like him, I could get in there, you know, could get in there like this and get in and start going. Fascial barrier, don't really like to use lotion or oil. If you're actually really trying to manipulate the fascia, you start hearing a little bit of popping, stuff like that. Could be the ribs. Not in a bad way. Just breaking a rib.
Like I shit my back yesterday.
Yeah, so, you know, it could be ribs moving, TL junction. TL junction is huge on people, right? Big in Chinese medicine as well. It's a vitality point for the breath. Diaphragm won't work if TL junction's fucked. So, let's go ahead, let's get in here like this. This guy's got, he's kind of got some lats. So.
That's all I got.
That's all. Yeah. So, you know, we'll just start going back and forth. I'm putting a little bit of pressure. He's a bigger guy. Smaller person, maybe not, but him. That's what we'll do. Yep, so you see how that knurling is gripping the skin and taking it with, right? Kind of like a throttle motion. Perfect. It's important to make sure those scaps move. Doesn't matter if you have a hip problem. That right scap's locked up, that left hip is going to be compensated. Yeah, by the way, that product you got going on, man, that machine motion is really pretty legit. It's to me, compared to like different products I've tried out there, different BCQs and stuff like that, or natural anti-inflammatories, it definitely hits that Cox-Lox pathway how it's supposed to, but it doesn't turn off your natural inflammatory response. And I think that's huge, because we were talking about that earlier with, like, you know, you get these athletes now that say, hey, cryo every day or this stuff every day, that at the end of the day, it's great for like an extreme event, but if you constantly try and knock, you know, down your natural inflammatory pathway cascade, you're going to cause more of an inflammatory response at the end of the day. And I get, you know, I looked at the ingredients in that machine motion, and what I've kind of seen in there between the bromelain and you got your, you know, a great form of turmeric with some black pepper to help absorb it, and these things, you know, it's definitely a legit product that I like to use. And to be honest, like, I have some joint problems. Not joint problems, but, you know, I just get some aches and pains, man. And to be able to take something like that for throughout the day, to me, it's good on top of doing, you know, my other things I do, you know, the turmeric, the ginger, and things like that. But this is so simple. He likes to work out chest, as we all do. We like to do push-pull techniques, things like that. The deal is that every once in a while he feels this strain he'll get, and it'll freak the shit out of him, like he tore his pec or something. Correct?
Yeah.
So, you know, it impedes him from being able to go heavy and do what he'd like to do. And he does a lot of stability stuff. The guy knows what he's doing. He's not, like, you know, just benching. He's doing different things to help his shoulder. But at the end of the day, he's throwing one color at the wall. You know, and to do this tissue work, it's huge, man. When you start seeing, you know, a lot of times at the sternal head, you get this whole fascial line here that actually runs down into the thumb, and then these two digits run right into your rhomboid, which is why grip training is so huge, and fat bars are the way to go. At least I like them. But you know, you look at the sternal head of the pec here. A lot of people's shoulder problems, you'll have a tight pec minor, right? You have this pec major fascia running here to here. And then you also have your short head of your biceps running from here all the way to, and they share the coracoid process, right? The pec minor and the short head of biceps. You know, rip that shoulder forward. You go get a massage, man. I got some upper back aches and stuff, and people are constantly doing what? Touching the spot that hurts, right? They're not touching this. They're not getting into the subscap, that gets knotted up and drives the humeral head up and jams into the supraspinatus because they have a weak lat and they're overcompensating. They're touching what hurts. They're not touching the actual muscle that's causing the back muscles to hurt and shut them down, making them actually a lot of times locked long and locked long and weak like the rhomboids, because the rhomboid itself actually shares a fascial sling with the serratus anterior, which runs from here all the way up to the cervical rib, which a lot of people don't even know that on a fascial aspect. I'm saying not a pure muscular belly. So at the end of the day, we get in here like this. It is not good on a pain level wise, but we get in here and we literally drag this down, and you're gonna see this.
Yeah, you're gonna see it.
So,
Jesus Christ.
That's gonna, you do a couple slices of this, and you start to feel that tensile integrity of the fascia break up. All right, and that's why we do this. And what you'll do is you actually see people where if you have someone that comes in with a rolled shoulder and you do a few of these and get into this biceps, and we'll use these tools to get into there, you're gonna look at the shoulder you worked on compared to the other one and see that one's like this and one's like that still, right? And then you gotta even them out. And on top of that, we're never gonna touch the side that just hurts and fix this side, because this side's been compensating the whole time. Global approach.
Dude, this is fucking hell, man.
Yeah, it is. But this will also get your pec to grow more because we're tearing the fascia.
You're tearing something, man. I think I'd rather injure myself at this point.
A lot of people would ask, like, would I do this before or after I work out? And I guess it depends what you're doing. Like, if you're a powerlifter, you're trying to tie in, your lats when you're benching compared to more of a bodybuilding style. And you do this before, is it going to loosen up your shoulder? Yeah, but you might not be able to coil up and act like there's that spring on your chest like you want to when you're at the bottom trying to launch out of that ship, and you might be launching out of a canoe at that point.
Very good.
A little bit of neck stuff real quick.
All right. Let me take this off first.
Oh, no, man. You know what? You can keep that on. Let's see what's just kind of getting to his suboccipitals down here, right? Got that suboccipital triangle, cervical extensors. A lot of times they'll get locked like that with people, and if this happens, as long as coli shut off, cervical extensors boom, we don't attack these, this guy's not turning on. At the end of the day, what's perfect posture? People are always saying, what do you do if you're sitting like this? Oh, do this. No, just, that's it. That's perfect posture. Don't make it complicating. But the big thing is if your cervical extensors get locked and, you have all these people talking about like what a perfect squat is and all these things, a lot of people leave out the cervical spine, and everything starts from the top down when you're loading a bar on your fucking neck.
Very true.
And if you don't have strong neck flexors, say bye-bye to your hips, because your neck flexor connects.
You never hear that kind of stuff, man. Neck and hips.
Dude, deep neck flexor connects right to your iliopsoas, which is your hip flexor. Fascially, they connect, deep frontal midline.
This will be the most educational video ever put up on YouTube. I've learned, you've used a lot of big words. I usually know these big words, but I never hear people say them. Not in casual conversation, at least.
A lot of times, just a little tidbit for you guys. I'm going to do this, Mr. Lobliner here. Lobliner, right?
Yes.
Lobliner.
You pronounced it perfectly.
Perfect. So I'm going to ask him, let me know if do you get vertigo or anything like that?
No.
So go ahead and just slowly drop your head off the table. Does that bother it at all?
No, not really.
All right, so what we're kind of looking for is this CT joint. It's really locked up. It doesn't really matter who you are. When that happens, it causes a lot of problems. Think of it like a spinal fusion, right? If your spine is fused, the upper and lower segments are going to get more movement, and they're going to wear out next for the next spinal fusion surgery. So the end of the day, we want to make sure movement in the spine is key, especially at the huge transition places, one of them being the cervical thoracic junction, the CT junction. So what we do here is we say, okay, people have this forward-headed posture, right? And the CT junction to me is the middle of a cross. And the upper of the cross are the suboccipitals. The lower is the TL junction, the thoracolumbar junction, which if that's locked up or messed up, the diaphragm ain't gonna work. And then you have your shoulders as this. So if the center's locked up, all 4 of those areas usually get messed up. So what we're gonna do here for Mr. Marc, and this is a good functional diagnostic tool for in-range loading techniques to rule out shoulder pathologies, but that's a whole different video, and other pathologies, and this can be used all over the body. But so what we're gonna do is have you retract your chin for me, bud, okay? So, yep, and I'm gonna place I got you, just relax. I'm gonna place my fingers on your jaw. Go ahead and relax. So I'm gonna retract his chin and then distract and pull him down into cervical extension. And this is kind of a ham workout. I'm gonna do this. I got you. Try and relax. So you wanna try and cradle the head. You're gonna pull, and you're gonna pull down. After you go into retraction, distraction, cervical extension. All right, we're gonna do a couple more. This is a really powerful thing to use with people.
Oh, there it is. Oh.
It's that family time, man.
Yeah, I get it.
So,
Yeah, I'm with you.
all right. So, real quick here, this is really important because right now, that hip flexor starts L1 T4 TP, I believe, runs through, and
So just stop at the dick.
yes,
So I gotta stop right here.
yeah.
I keep rolling over it.
So-
No, I'm just playing. It's not
So-
even close to there.
So that hip flexor joins in with the quad, and together, basically lower back, man, all the way down to that patellar tendon, right? So, in general, like, I hate to give information for free, but like, you get freaking chronic knee pain and hip pain and stuff. One of these tools is the way to go. I can't stress that enough. Again, the physiotherapists I work with over at Advanced Physical Medicine, people were kind of in disbelief when I bought one of these there, and now a lot of people, they use it at first and they think I'm nuts, and then they come back to it. Eventually there won't be pain. Another story real quick, my fiance, she dislocated her knee and couldn't really play. She played softball for 17, 18 years, dislocated her knee in a game, trashed her knee. Couldn't really do a lot of deadlifting and squatting or anything like that, and she loves to lift. So when she met me, we have a 90-pounder, and she used it, and she uses it 5 to 10 minutes every day now. And she pulled almost 300 a couple weeks ago and squatted, I think it was either 265 or something like that. I don't want to say numbers that weren't there, but I'm not talking like half-ass reps either. I'm talking full depth. So the key is that this is basically smashing cookie dough, right? Like these messed up fascial knots. Again, what's the functional neurology? What's the opposite muscle of the quad? You got your hamstring gluteal complex. You have knots in the quads, and all of a sudden we're almost done, bud. You want to try and do this 5 minutes. You have knots in the quads, and then the hip
There's definitely
flexors.
knots in the quads.
Yeah, you have knots in the quads and hip flexors. What are you inhibiting? Even if you are doing straight leg deadlifts and stuff, is your hamstring firing? Is your glute firing at 100%? Probably not, because your brain says, hey, holy shit, there's a contraction here. Why am I lengthening or shortening the other tissue at the same time? If this tissue's short, something's going to tear. It's just a knot. So, functional neurology, these are huge. We're going to go ahead. We addressed the tissue components. Marc knows what he's doing, the working out, the mobility stuff on his own. We're not getting into that today. Maybe a different video. We can all just have a discussion. But now we're kind of going into the spine a little bit here. All right. Palpating for any type of movement or lack thereof movement. Of course, you got that T3 to T7 vertebral complex. Usually gets pretty knotty and locked up. CT joint up here. So It's not as bad as you would think because he actually moves. Get a desk worker and it's different. Cool. So now, go ahead. We're gonna adjust him. Usually I like face-up adjustments, but with him, you know, he's a big guy, and on top of that, he has a little shoulder issue. I don't feel like putting 225 pounds on his shoulder that doesn't need to be there. Let's go ahead and have you put your hands on your waist, bud.
Right here.
Yeah, like that. Yep. You okay?
Yep.
So, go ahead, take a big breath in. There you go. So that move. Go ahead. Nice. I always like to adjust people with their legs bent, neutral spine. That's huge for me. And if people have locked up cervical extensors, it takes out the cervical tension and extension. Yeah, we don't get for an X-ray.
Alright, so it's like this.
Yeah. A lot of times, go ahead, kick up into me with your, try and get that PIR technique. Okay, relax. There it goes. It went, you okay? It went, but I slid off. We're good.
Alright, so
I hope that
yeah,
that
this,
helped you out. I know that's a lot of freaking information, and there's a lot of
there's the reason I wanted to show everybody this is I literally am shocked. Like, you guys know I'm science minded, and you know, while I do a lot of the performance stuff, a lot of the hippie stuff, I do the sauna, I do the, you know, a lot of things that are outside of the box. At the end of the day, I usually point to like studies and studies and studies. And the thing is, when you're in pain, and you know psychologically something might make you feel better. But if you go into something not expecting anything, and you literally notice 100% improvement, it's something I wanted to share with everybody, right? And I do everything to, I'm so scared of getting old. I am so scared of slowing down that I keep increasing. Unfortunately, Father Time is undefeated. So again, if you're in the Chicago area, the St. Charles, Illinois area, you know, Colton's the dude. Like, he is the dude. Again, but be careful. Like, I always say, be careful. If there's one guy promising the world, but they're really not spending that much time, there's a lot that goes into recovery. There's no magic bullet. You can't just be like, oh, snap, snap, okay, you're good. I don't believe in that, but I believe when you have an approach like this, like, I'll just tell you what, personally, it changed my life. It has really enhanced my life. So I appreciate it, brother.
Yeah, no problem.
Yeah, we'll be seeing more of you, man.